So Michael, you mentioned you're from Charleston originally?
Originally from Sumter, about an hour from here.
Would you say that flooding is about the same as when you were younger, or is it worse?
I think it's getting a little worse now. It's getting a little worse now. Anytime it's high tide, it floods down here. Anytime it's rains heavy, it floods down here.
Yeah.
That's South Carolina for you. That's why they call it low country.
Climate change is often a big abstract problem, and we need to make it local. And there is no climate impact that can be more localized than sea level rise.
What's happening in the polar regions will impact everyone on the coastline. What humans do in the coming decades will impact the planet for centuries.
When tide comes in, it don't have to rain sometimes. Just a king tide and the flood comes in.
Right.
I used to living around water, since a little child coming down here. It's normal for us.
The residents of Charleston are experiencing far more floods than they experienced even 10 years ago. It's obvious if you live there. I think that's why you're seeing a response. This is here now.
During king tides, even when the sun's out, the water shoots up out of the ground. Shop owners have sandbags readily available that they put in their door, which stops the water from coming in.
Just in the past 5 years, we've had 1,000-year rainfall, we've had tropical storms, hurricanes, and you can just see the changes happening very quickly.
Climate Central's mission is to make accurate and effective climate communications ubiquitous. We are a group of independent, non-advocacy scientists, researchers, and journalists, communicators who research and report on climate change and its impacts and solutions. For more than 12 years, we've been doing research on sea level rise and coastal impacts. We began that research because we understood in our early days that it poses an existential threat to people who live in harm's way. Once the water is lapping at your door, you can't live there anymore unless protections are built in, but you have to take action.
Charleston was founded as a major port city. People know and appreciate Charleston. It's one of the most sort of famous historic districts in the country. It was the first historic district in the country, done in 1931. There's an incredible passion for this place. I think we can tap into that, and I think that's powerful. We have to accept the fact that the situation is changing, and we have to be adaptable. And if we're not adaptable, then we're not resilient. If we're not resilient, then you can kiss this whole town goodbye.
Right now, I would say Charleston has done a really good job of looking to the future. I think we've done a really good job of taking stock of where we are. And I think over the last 4 years or so, we've really hit the gas pedal in terms of our response.
We hold easements on a lot of historic buildings downtown, and so easement homeowners would come to us saying, geez, what do we do? We've now had to replace our ductwork for 3 times, and people start talking about elevating houses. We need to get up out of the flood waters. This is One Water Street. This house, just like its neighbor, was built in 1857, and you can see it's an exact twin of this house just to the right. You got the harbor right out there. Yeah. When you've got storm surge and a hurricane coming, the water just comes right in.
Is this the future of what we'll be seeing in Charleston and other places?
Yeah, we're seeing more and more proposals for this. The local populace is getting more comfortable with it. I think at first it was sort of shocking, but we're now starting to see more. This is one of the more dramatic examples. A building that constantly floods is not a building that's going to last for very long, whether it's because of just physical deterioration or the fact that no one's going to want to live there.
Charleston's taking sea level rise seriously. One, we're investing a lot of our city budget in it. We are always working on how do we adjust our regulations, so that we're building smarter. What's the most important thing is it's where you build and how you build. That's the future. We can't afford really to go back and fix all of the past, so we can't afford to make mistakes in the future, and we just got to make sure we're doing it right. The harsh reality is this is the Atlantic Ocean, right? It's big, and you're not going to beat the Atlantic Ocean. So you're going to have to pick those areas that you're going to defend against the Atlantic Ocean, and then we're going to have to learn to live with the water in areas that we choose not to put those defenses up.
This is the low battery, so it's right essentially at grade. You can see the angle that we're dealing with here on this sidewalk. So this entire promenade will be lifted 3 feet, and then also it'll be engineered to allow it to be raised 3 more feet should it need to be. It's very Dutch, so whenever the Dutch say if you want to do an intervention to help protect from water, at least make it something beautiful and useful that improve the lives of the people around it. This is a, I would say 100-year type investment in this kind of piece of infrastructure. We reached out through the Dutch embassy to study what the Dutch do with water, since they're the, I would say, global experts in water management. We've been talking about trying to kind of envision a future of how to kind of live with water in a way that's sustainable.
At Climate Central, we've just created the world's first science-backed, global, interactive map of sea level rise and coastal threats.
Is there a certain water level that you're interested in looking at?
Well, I think what would be interesting is 2 feet to 3 feet. I mean, that's our sea level rise strategy that we've actually put into writing for the next 50 years. We're looking at 2 feet to 3 feet.
Land in red represents areas that are below the water level selected. So we start at the local high tide line and we move up. So this is local high tide line plus 3 feet.
Wow. Getting people out of harm's way becomes job one, because there's not much anybody's going to do about that till the tide recedes. So it validates the plan.
We know climate change is going to be bad, but we don't know how bad it's going to be. So there's question as to what we can lose or what we can still save. So there's lots of possibilities. And our tools help you envision those possible futures with different levels of sea level rise under different scenarios. So it just becomes very easy to take all these possibilities into account.
To see visual images of, the place you love underwater, it's hard to swallow. Data's important. The fine-grained detail that was shown to us through the Climate Central tools, it can empower citizens to make their decisions. And the difference between a 7'3" tide and a 7'4" tide is the difference between one of our main corridors, Lockwood, being flooded or not. That level of detail can be important for decision-making on a day-to-day basis.
We all know if you live along the coast, it's not if, it's when. So being able to demonstrate to people that if we have a storm of this caliber coming and this is the projected storm surge, this is what it's going to look like.
Because our tool lets people envision different scenarios, you can look at that pessimistically and see how bad it could be, but that also tells you how much we could potentially save if we took action now to address climate change.
The first thing people do when they see our maps is they type in their own address. And it's even more powerful when you have a visual like we can get in Google Earth, and you can see the future of your home, your office, your city with that future higher water level. That's the point where we really understand not only is this a big threat, a legacy question, but it affects the things that I care about the most.
The citizens of Charleston are really, really, really smart about this. So we have to be able to give them answers to their questions. And so being ready for that, tools like this tool from Climate Central is a great way to be able to demonstrate what we're making our decisions on. Using good data to be able to make good decisions, I think is a way to build confidence that you're moving in the right direction.
The rising sea, driven by a warming climate, is a tangible threat to the homes of people in red states and blue. It's really something that concerns us all. And it doesn't surprise me in the least that a city like Charleston, in a pretty conservative state, is taking an active stance to defend against rising seas. It's critical that deep public engagement is there for decades to come.
When you're a kid, you're learning history and all these bad things that took place, and you kind of wonder, oh, if I could have gone back in time and stopped this from happening, I could have saved millions of lives. And I feel like we're actually living in a time now where we could have that impact on the future. I actually find it very empowering that we can see what the future could look like, but we still have a chance to change it.